Welcome back. Olympic runner Semenya must now use drugs to lower her testosterone if she's to compete again. That's if a court of arbitration's decision isn't reversed. The highest court in sport yesterday ruled that females with high testosterone levels cannot compete against other women in races from 400 meters to 1 mile. Well, medical experts say the decision raises medical and biology questions. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng joins me now in studio to unpack this. Doc, thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you.
I think what everyone is wondering right now is what are the implications of taking hormones to lower your testosterone levels?
I mean, the issue of hormonal therapy in medicine is not a new one. There are very different circumstances and medical diagnoses which can often, indicate for use of exogenous hormones. But in the case of Caster specifically, as an athlete, that is a specialist field of hers, and by forcing her to take testosterone blocking or lowering medication means that we will be impacting, firstly, her athletic ability to run. Secondly, her physical physique will be impacted by that, but also because she will lose muscle bulk, the strength of her muscles will be impacted by that. And remember, they're giving her timelines in terms of, 6 months or 3 months before she can compete. So which means it's almost like a ping-pong yin-yang, of all of these hormonal treatments that she must be on or off. And how do you actually regulate that in the first place? And we know that, exogenous hormones do have other impact on other systems in the body. So her bone health will be impacted, her renal health will be impacted, her mental health will be impacted. So these hormones are not without side effects, and they should be monitored. But in Caster's specific case, it is a violation of her human rights, and it's an extreme overreach in terms of the Court of Arbitration of Sports to make such pronouncements on her ability to run.
Dr. Mofokeng, is it worth it for Caster to go through this if she really wants to compete and basically has lost all hope whether she decides to appeal this latest decision? Is it worth it physically and medically?
I think, at the end of the day, that's for Caster to really answer and take all the, the facts into consideration. But if you look medically, there are some serious consequences to taking these exogenous hormones and testosterone blocking hormones. And she will need to decide what does worth it look like if I can't compete at my natural talent and have to be forced and be violated to compete in sport. What does that look like, And unfortunately, that's an answer that only she can really answer. But I think in terms of the bigger battle of racism, of sexism, of misogyny in sport, and the continuous discrimination and violation of her human rights, perhaps the goal for the rest of us who are self-proclaiming to be supporting of Caster, maybe for us is a different battle, and we can assist her in other ways while she concentrates on being an athletic, a professional on the field.
What should be the collective response to this? Because as we were just speaking offline, you were telling me that there actually is a bigger fight here. Caster should not be doing this on her own. She's been very resilient in her career thus far, but can she withstand this one psychologically?
I think the issue of mental and physical wellness, for Caster at the moment is paramount. And I think that support for her should be led from the highest office in the country, which is the presidency. We should be taking on board other institutions like the South African Human Rights Council, like the Commission on Gender Equality, and we should be linking every single effort to the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution that was supported at the 46th session that South Africa put forward. And this is a fight that is beyond Caster, but Caster is that person that has become, the person who's visible in this fight.
Poster child.
Exactly. And we need to understand that it's a human rights violation. No one is asking or begging the IAAF to do Caster a favor. This is not about that. No one is asking or begging. We are saying and demanding that her rights to compete at her natural ability are human rights, and they must be protected and defended. And what has come out interesting is that the three people who were in charge of making this decision, to exclude her or at least to give these conditions of the hormones, say that they agree and accept that this is a form of discrimination, but they are saying that it's legitimate in this area. And they've only targeted the races that Caster dominates in, which is the 400 meters, the 800 meters, and the 1,200 meters. No other race has been targeted in this manner, which further fuels, the absolute conviction that this should be a worldwide response. It should be a strategy in terms of how all of us work to support Caster, but Caster should be able to concentrate on being an athlete and doing what she is good at, which is running. And the rest of us who are medical experts, the legal experts, human rights defenders, need to really come on board to make sure that we win this for her.
You know, what you just said right now is actually very interesting, because Professor Steve Cornelius, who's been advising the ASA legal team, says if Caster Semenya decides to take this matter to the Swiss Federal Court, it makes it very difficult because, he says, very often matters like this, or matters taken to this court, are unsuccessful. Is she clearly fighting a losing fight anyway here? Is it worth it even going through this? In essence, should this bigger fight that you talk about basically take hold right now?
We haven't even tried as South Africa to mount a proper response to fight this. We have kept it as a Caster issue that she has been fighting on an individual level. And what I'm suggesting is that we need institutionalized fight back on this issue, which hasn't happened before. So we are not at a place now to say, well, we'll lose anyway. This is part of white supremacy. This is part of racism. This is part of sexism. And we cannot, as a South Africa that it is today, with the democracy that we have, with the constitution that we have, and all the Chapter 9 institutions, to just say, well, we'll never win anyway. Walking away from this battle, it means we as a South Africa endorse what's happening to Caster. And there is yet a reason to exist where this is okay and it's normalized for black women specifically to continue to be targets of racism and sexism, not just in the sports, by the way, in economics, in mining, in medicine, in all aspects of our lives. So for us as black women, Caster only represents, right? She's a human representation of what we are going through every single day. And there is no way that we are not going to start this battle and just call it now and say, well, we never win anyway. Well, we'll be the first ones to rewrite history and we will win.
Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, thank you very much for
your
time. Thanks indeed.